Hey guys, welcome to another exciting episode of The Stash Report from The Stash Project. Today's the 25th of September 2015, and we are rolling right on into fall. It is officially the fall contest season, actually, as well as the official start of fall was, 2 days ago. So, as we expected, it was a very slow week in Japan. They were on vacation again for the better part of the last 5 days. They've been back for the last 2 days. Nothing really has come out of Japan in kit form. However, if you were waiting on decals, some of those are rolling in. Shunko reissued a whole bunch of their older decals. And then the Watson and San Miguel's BMW 318i decals designed to fit the reissued Hasegawa 318i Japanese Touring Car Championship reissues of this month and last month, or I should say this month and next month. Those decals are out as well, and then there'll be a bunch of Alfa Romeo decals, reissues of those older decals that Studio 27 is also doing, which are also to be coming out here in the very last few days of the month. So they'll be out probably tomorrow after we film this. Excuse me, guys. So I had one announcement out of Japan. It actually was last week. I forgot to write it down because it doesn't have a release date, and then I forgot to grab the flyer as well, so this is not as new. Some people may have heard about this. And then we have the releases from the domestic side of things. All of Revell and Round 2's kits, for the most part, are out now, so you can begin to go attack your local favorite hobby shop and or show vendor to start raking in the September kit releases. So, real quick, up front, the announcement from Japan here is an Ebro F1 kit. There is, like I said, no actual release date on this, and I'm not sure how well this will actually show up on the YouTubes on full screen here. But this is a 1/20th scale McLaren Honda MP430 2015 middle season is what the official title of it is. So for those guys out there, and I know there are some of you that are F1 fans and build the 1/20th scale F1 cars, I believe this would be the most current F1 car available, or soon to be available. I think the most recent F1 reissue or kit would be the Red Bull kit that Tamiya did. So Ebro here taking a little step out of historic F1 cars to bring you a modern day, actually literally a few month old F1 car. This has got a retail price of 4,800 yen, which is around about $37, I want to say. They're showing rapid prototypes laid on the plans for the parts runners, which is what that is if you can't really see it. I don't know enough about it to know if it has an engine or anything else like that in it, but apparently, but you would think it would based on what the what 1/20th scale F1 cars come with as a standard piece of equipment. So we'll keep you guys up to date once we know more on that as far as the release date, because again, I know that we have a few fans of that on board here. And like I said, that's pretty much it out of Japan. We are expecting a bunch of Fujimi kits here in the next day or two. Aoshima's got one kit that's still hanging out on a reissue basis, and then really everything for September has come in, and we'll start worrying about the stuff coming in October. So that leaves us here in the United States, where we had a bunch of new kits come out. We'll start up with Round 2 first, because that was really the least amount, because some of the stuff had already come out a couple weeks ago, came out a little earlier than expected. So we have 3 kits from Round 2, and they are from Lindbergh, the reissuing of the venerable IMC-based Dodge L700 and tanker trailer. This is just a straight-up reissue of this, I guess it's a 1960s or 1970s IMC tooling that Lindbergh bought out when they bought out all the rest of that stuff that should never be reissued. This kit is actually not necessarily the most terrible thing in the world in the terms of all of the IMC tooling they own. This may be some of the least offensive. And beyond that, if you've ever built one, you've built one. The only difference with this is it has the decals and the tie-in to Shell, which apparently is a contract that Round 2 has picked up in general, because out of AMT is the reissue of the Fruhoff tanker trailer, and again, it comes with Shell decal. So apparently they signed a little bit of a licensing agreement there with Shell to brand every fuel tank trailer they own as a Shell trailer. There's still other decals in this kit. The box art, excuse me, guys, which you can't really read, says something about vintage golf decals as well. I'm not sure if golf is owned by Royal Dutch Shell at this point or not, but it says their decals are in there. I don't know if that's for sure because I haven't seen the inside of one of these yet because it literally just started being available in the last couple of days. Keep in mind, if you've never bought one of these AMT trailers, you are buying something from the 1960s and 1970s, so this is not the most reasonable thing to put behind, say, a Mobius Lone Star or a ProStar. It is, of course, perfectly reasonable to put behind any of the old AMT or Ertl 1960s, 1970s cabovers and conventional trucks that they've reissued over the last couple of years. There's really not a lot going on here that you have. Again, if you built one of these Fruhoff tankers, you know what's going on here. This is just a new set of decals, basically. There's not really anything new added to it other than that. And like I was going to say, just because you got to throw the warning out there, guys, this is only the trailer. You don't get the truck, which if you saw the box, you'd realize why it's tiny. It only fits the trailer in. And then the last reissue from AMT here is the 1923 Ford Model T delivery van. This is a stock-only build. There are no custom parts in here. If you're thinking custom parts, you're thinking of a different kit. You're thinking of the Fruit T wagon. This is a straight-up, and has always been a straight-up stock version of this kit. 1960s era tooling, so know what you're getting into there. You I guess ought to know. If you're watching this channel, you ought to know by now that Round 2 doesn't make new kits for the most part. They do some sci-fi stuff that's new, some movie stuff that's new, but they really haven't done any automotive stuff that's new other than the unassembled promos they did under the showroom replica line, which is now defunct, and they did the Snap Tight Impala SS car tomorrow NASCAR Snap Tight toy thing that was pretty awful. The new thing about this Model T van, other than the retro box art here, is the fact that it does come with the 4 sets of Nestle tie-in decals. You get, I believe it's Nestle Crunch, Payday, 100 grand, and something else. I can't remember what the fourth one is right now. But they are cut to fit the side panel where you see the little antique car on the back of the panel van there. They are designed to fit it. It's not something you have to try to make fit. So if you're interested in that and you have a particular love for candy, you can go that way too. It's a neat little conversation piece. It hasn't been around for a little while. It's kind of funny. The original ones were getting kind of expensive. Then they reissued this, and now you can find the original ones for about what this one costs. Funny how kit value destruction causes that apocalyptic shift in eBay pricing. Sometimes I personally love it because guys, you build the kits or buy the kits and build them. Stashing them away for your retirement just isn't going to work unless you find, of course, the original stuff that will never be reissued because it can't be. On to Revell. Revell has 5 kits to talk about here. Up front, real quick, the Porsche 914-6 has been pulled from this month. I don't know why. It was there, and then it disappeared. So that kit, for whatever reason, is not going to be out this month. We'll keep an eye out for when it is going to come out. Don't know if that's a shipping thing, if it was a parts manufacturing issue, what's going on there. But for whatever reason, it's been yanked off of the September reissues. If you're looking forward to that, sorry, it ain't going to happen for you this month. But what did come out this month so far, or which was pretty much everything, is the large-scale 1/16th Kenworth W900 Aerodyne Conventional. This is, of course, the 278-piece large-scale kit. I can't tell you much more about it because I've never actually owned, let alone built, any of these large-scale monogram kits. It is, 1970s, early 1980s basis as far as what year this W900 would have been. I'm not even sure you can get an Aerodyne sleeper anymore. They make something called an Aerodyne sleeper, but it's not that shape anymore, I should say. Everything is all aerodynamic now. Kenworth does still make the W9, but most people get your W9 with a 84-inch studio sleeper, which is pretty much the premium top-of-the-line truck you can get anymore. This would have been the premium top-of-the-line truck in the day, but that day would have been 1983 or so. Still, it's a good kit, nice kit, monogram. You're not going to go wrong there as far as assembly or anything like that. It's not a 1960s multi-panel door opening Revell Tri-5 by any stretch of the imagination. But of course, it's not a modern day kit. And as of right now, I don't believe they've reissued any of the 1/16 scale trailers. So you just have a couple of tractors because, of course, they did reissue the 1/16 scale Peterbilt last year. And then we go on to the reissues here. Well, this, of course, the W9 was a reissue, but the reissues of the actual cars. You got the Brock Racing Enterprises Datsun 240Z road racing car. Some nice little box art here. This, of course, being an SSP, the one run and done kind of thing. They're, not going to scrap the tooling, of course, but whatever run they made of these 5,000 kits or whatever it was, that will be, of course, all there is. So if you order from online vendors, keep in mind you need to get ahead of these SSP releases, because once they sell out, traditionally speaking, they can't get any more. This is particularly true with like Tower Hobbies, because Tower Hobbies being the retail arm of Revell, they only have whatever they have in stock, and then once it goes out of stock, that's it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can never get these, because they'll be all over eBay, of course, as well as the fact that local hobby shops will carry them. And, they never really sell as well as everyone likes to think of. Everybody seems to think that Tower Hobbies is out of stock. That means Revell is out of stock. That means they'll never see this kit ever again. And I can tell you for a fact that most of these one-run-and-done Revell kits, I can tell you one to five places you can pick one up here in the Pittsburgh area. And, just sitting on a shelf collecting dust. So it is what it is in the sense of being limited. It is limited, yes, but how hard it is to get depends on where you live and how you shop. The other reissue for this month is the Fast and the Furious official movie merchandise tied in Brian's Eclipse. This is the Mitsubishi Eclipse from the Tuner series from back in 2000 or so. Same kit that's sort of half die-cast, half plastic in its origins. You cannot build this as just a regular run-of-the-mill Mitsubishi Eclipse. There are no choices, I should say, to make just stock front and rear bumpers or anything else like that. You do get a couple of choices of like wings and wheels and things like that, but you are pretty much stuck with this body kit as far as the body itself goes. There is no just regular stock options with the body parts coming on separately. I know that this is a movie tie-in car, so a lot of this is aimed, sort of like Round 2 has been doing with a lot of their reissues, is aimed at memorabilia collectors. A lot of these will get bought and never, ever even see the shrink wrap come off of them, let alone get built. So, that's not necessarily the market was not necessarily towards serious kit builders. Although, guys, it is the only Mitsubishi Eclipse of the second gen out there. Well, that's not true. AMT did theirs too, but that's kind of a little bit harder to find. Somewhat new, but technically not. The 2014 Corvette Stingray. This is the pre-painted kit. This is not the Snap-Tight kit that they did 2 months ago. This, as you see, is pre-painted in Victory Red, or whatever they're calling this red color. Got a much bigger display box on this than they did on the other pre-paints. At least that's what it looks like to me. I haven't seen one of these in person yet, but this does look like a substantially larger box than the Challenger and the Camaro. You do get the engine with this, and a little bit more detailed chassis. I don't think they've ever fixed the parts count on the website, so I can't tell you how many parts this has, but it's probably upper 50s, maybe lower 60s. A lot of the stuff that was molded in and whatnot on the Snap-Tight is a little more free-flowing this time around. But, all in all, it's basically the Snap-Tight kit with an engine for all intents and purposes, just a little bit, a little bit more parts to make it a little more complicated. You got to remember now, the build and plays are for kids 6 to 10, maybe, or somewhere in that age bracket. They're saying 6 to 8, but let's be honest, 6 to 10. And then, your Snap-Tight is somewhere in the range of 8 to 12, and then this is going to be 10 years and older on these, because you do still have to paint the engine, you still have to paint the interior, you still have to paint the chassis. The only thing that comes pre-painted in these pre-painted kits, unlike Aoshima kits, is the body. So you've got to still put everything, paint everything, and you still have to put it all together. It's not Snap-Tight. You do need glue for some of the parts, like the engine and stuff like that are not part of the Snap-Tight kit. I want one of these. I really do. I really love the new Corvette. It's one of the things that sort of grew on me over time, seeing them in real life. Very, very cool car. I just really would like to have a blank white one, because anybody who knows these pre-paints know they don't come with decals. And, it's sort of those things of, hey, this is your third level kit. Build and play is level 1. Snap-Tight what they're called Snap Type Max now, level 2. Building these pre-paints are level 3. Because remember, if you haven't heard, there's gonna be a 5-level thing. It's gonna correspond more with Revell of Germany's skill level. Basically, level 1 will be build and play. Level 2 will be the Snap Type Max. Level 3 will be these pre-painted kits where the body's already painted, but you have to paint the chassis, the interior, and glue the whole thing together. Level 4 will be glue kits of less than 125 parts, and level 5 will be glue kits of more than 125 parts. So, for example, the recently released 1929 Ford Model A Roadster hot rod thing, that is technically speaking, a level 5 kit. I don't believe they actually fixed the levels with that kit specifically. I think at least this kit says level 3 on it, so I don't know if that means going forward they're going to start using this because it was just announced in coordination with the Star Wars kits that they're started doing. But, like I said, if you know your Revell of Germany kits, you know some of the Revell of Germany kits are level 5, and people get all freaked out about it, and it's not about how hard it is to put together, it's about what the parts count is. So, how hard it is to put together and what the parts count is also is one of the correlations of, a really, really detailed Revell of Germany kit is a level 5 kit. The Revell of Germany double-decker bus is also a level 5 kit. Those two are not going to have the same build time because the bus is, of course, ginormous and has 85 duplicate seats and all that stuff. So, you can't know that going forward the levels will be based on parts, content, and difficulty to a certain extent. I hope that makes sense. But at any rate, I really want one of the Corvettes. I really wish they would issue a blank one with a real set of decals because, while there is no stripes or anything on this car that you need to take off like they did with the Challenger and the Camaro that you could never replace because there were not decals for them. I just think it's chintzy. You expect them to paint the chassis, paint the engine, paint the interior, and glue everything together, but water slot decals are too fucking complicated, right? I don't get that. I understand it's a cost thing, but really at the same time, I have priced what it costs to make decals from Cartograph, who's the company that makes Revell's decals, and it's not that expensive. It's not something I personally would do because I don't think the projects I want to do would be, sell enough basically to recoup my investment in it. But it's not something that doing 5,000 versions of something would not, it's going to cost literally pennies per kit. It's not that expensive. And, of course, last but not least, I know this is something a lot of people have, of course, been waiting on, and this is a skill level 2. So, nope, they haven't fixed the skill levels entirely. This is the Starsky and Hutch for Torino. If you belong to any of the major forums, you know what's inside of here in regards to the contents. It's molded in red. It's 78 pieces, very monogram-ish, contents as far as how it builds and stuff like that. The best way I can describe this is go grab, a Buick GSX or, maybe something a little newer than that. Maybe say, the Buick GNX or the Grand National, or maybe the Monte Carlo or any of those 1980s, early 1990s, any of the NASCAR kits, any of those, monogram kits from the end of monogram before they got sold out to Revell. That's what this feels like, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I grew up in the era of that I'm speaking of the late 80s, and as far as building kits goes, late 80s, early 90s. This would have been my, pre-teen to teen years because, graduated in 95. So I have a very affinitive soft spot in my hobby heart for the 1980s, early 90s monogram kits because I got burnt on way too many fiddly old 1960s Revell kits being put in new boxes, and this is pre-internet, so you didn't know any better. It was a brand new kit, so you bought it, and holy moly, was it a pile of junk inside to a 10-year-old kid. So I don't necessarily feel bad about the basic origins of this kit. It is 1/25th scale, so it is something that Revell was doing well after the Revell purchase, and this is again probably tooled around 2003, 2004, when the movie was going to come out. Of course, this is the TV show tie-in as far as your actors on the box here. It is, it is a combination. Best way I can describe this kit is a combination of the TV and the movie car. It is not faithful to either. It is sort of a combination of both, which may be more to do with the car that they modeled this off of rather than the actual, any kind of problem that Revell did. I'm not going to blame Revell for the combination of parts here because I think that this is a scenario where they did not find an original car. They just found a replica. And the replica was sort of a mix of the movie and the TV show, and that's what you get. So you get like a I don't know if it's a 2.4 barrel or maybe it's a 2.2 barrel setup. It's not a straight, regular single carb, engine. It is a 351 Windsor as far as the engine goes. Which is some people will complain is not the kit, not the engine that belongs actually in this car, but that is what the engine that was used in the movie car was. So that's what you get. The decals I will mention because I know that will probably be a concern to a lot of people. The decals, if we're going to build this as the Starsky and Hutch car, the hoop, the white decal that goes over the roof and over the seat panels is separate from the spears that run down the side of the body. So you're not trying to basically water slide a giant very thin, spindly U onto the kit at one time. That is a 3-piece decal. The sides are separate from the hoop over the roof. The only other real complaints you could say with this is that the opera windows perhaps are going to be bad depending on how you put them in. They are separate. They're not part of the glass. They are separate. Each B pillar, C pillar, however you want to look at that window, because this is sort of technically a pillarless coupe, is going to have to be placed by the builder. So it's not like a one-piece glass or anything else like that. Windshield and rear window are separate from the opera windows, and so where you put them will do a lot to affect how that window looks and how the overall window opening looks. The other thing is that while the wheels are not bad, they are very, very, very minimally staggered. They are not the big and littles that I think a lot of people would expect. They are ever so slightly deeper in the back than they are in the front. That's kind of a little bit of a disappointment. I think, spending the extra 10 seconds to make the wheels correct would have been okay. But, again, it was tooled back in 2004, and you have to consider that the primary market for this model kit is not builders. It is for memorabilia collectors. I don't know how big of a following Starsky and Hutch has, say, compared to the Fast and the Furious, because Fast and Furious, especially since, the passing, it's a different crowd there. This is a different crowd in general that likes that movie, that doesn't like that movie. But I mean, as far as memorabilia to that movie, I think a lot of people, are a little more collectible to Fast and the Furious now that there may not be another one. And it's certainly Starsky and Hutch. I don't know if this is collectible as anything. I don't know. I've heard from various people that this is one of the most pre-ordered kits of 2015. So maybe it is. I mean, the only other thing I've heard that had more pre-orders going into the release were the Mobius Ford pickup trucks, and they had been on pre-order for like 3 years going into the release this summer. So maybe it is more popular than I think it will be. I personally, I don't know. It may be one of those things where you catch it on clearance at Hobby Lobby or something like that for $10. Then I would consider going out and getting it. I don't have any attachment to the Ford Torino in general, and I don't, again, like I said last week, I don't have any attachment to the TV show. It's not a criticism of Revell. I mean, legitimately it's not. If you're into it, go grab it, buy it up, and this is one of the things that I always categorize into the more it sells, the better chance there are they'll make something I do want to buy. So, I'm never for the failure of Revell, despite any, inclination you might get from how critical I am of them at times. But, if they sell a whole bunch of them, then that's good. That's a profit, and they can make something that I would buy instead. This weekend coming up, starting literally probably right about now, is the All Japan Hobby and Model Show. over in Tokyo. It's going to run tomorrow and Sunday. And technically speaking, it is right now 11 o'clock in the morning on Saturday in Japan. Oh, I should say it's 11 o'clock in the morning. It's 11 o'clock at night, Friday night. So in about another 12 hours or so, it'll be starting. So next week we'll probably have a lot of pictures from various people, various sources of the displays and stuff like that, and it'll give you a little bit more better idea on stuff. I know I've already seen some Tamiya display stuff because I think technically today they were open industry. Tomorrow it opens to the public. So I've seen a few photos of the new MX-5, the Miata floating around, the build up for that. We still don't have a release date on that, and HobbyLink Japan still doesn't even admit it exists. So there's that, but there's a whole bunch of course, new Aoshima stuff that we covered in the other video, but we haven't seen, actual physical concrete, pictures of build-ups or anything else like that. So we'll have lots of pictures from that to look at next week, and probably have some kits that have come out in the end of the month, and all sorts of other fun stuff like that, folks. I'm rambling because I think in the back of my mind there's like, you're forgetting something, but I can't remember what it is, so we'll do it next week. Anyway, guys, we'll see you on the other side.